everybody, for a couple of reasons. But as always, I'll give it a couple of minutes, let people join if they're going to. Turn the chat on, see if that's working. We've had success with the chats for a while now, so I don't really foresee that being any type of issue. But you never know, right? They're always pretty creative at new ways to try to screw stuff up, but maybe they'll run out of tricks and they'll go back to the old bag. I don't know. We'll find out, but let's see if anybody wants to throw something in there. How you guys doing? Happy Sunday. Hope everybody's enjoying themselves, taking it easy, relaxing, getting ready for the week ahead. Um, no chat. Anything? There it is. What's up, Melissa? How you doing? Good to see you. Just wanted to make sure it was working. It's a kind of just some random stuff. Obviously, there's a lot going on, right? What's up, Retribution? How you doing, brother? There's only like a few things I really want to go over. Hey, Cindy, how you doing? Appreciate you being here. And then more, I kind of just want to have a more relaxed kind of flow to the stream. Not rush through any of the stuff and just, talk about stuff that we already really know. I like to keep up on it, obviously, but we know what's going on. But in that spirit of information, I will present it. What's up, James? How you doing, bro? I appreciate you being here. And I'll start off with this one, just because the way I see this selection process, the 2024 and all the other ones as well, with Trump and his indictments and things like that, right? I've said for a long time, they plan these things well in advance. And same type of thing that they're doing with Tucker Carlson, they already did with Alex Jones, and we'll probably do with Alex Jones again at a future date. But it's what they're doing to Trump, right? They give these people like a task overall, like they're going to be the symbol of what it is that they're trying to abolish or get rid of. And in Trump's case, you could do a lot of things, right? Because if they can do it to the president, well, they can do it to everybody. And what is it that they're saying? They're essentially coming out and saying, dare you criticize the results of the election. It's a clear attack of free speech. Whether that gains any traction is something that is definitely worth paying attention to. Pam, Jay Cree, glad to see you guys. Appreciate y'all being here. Before I go on, there's links in the description. First and foremost, thank you, Karma Doc. I appreciate it. That was very generous, and I'll email you separately. But definitely appreciated. For sure, I know that. So thank you. But I put some links in the description. Now, normally, guys, I don't really push anything. I'm never like, hey, support the channel, do whatever. That's like my own thing. If you guys wish to, that's whenever. Once in a great while, if there's reason, I will take the time like I am now, and I will say, honestly, consider donating and helping out a cause, because there is a family that is in desperate need right now, and I'm doing what I can to help, because these people are the types of people that would give you the shirt off their back. So, and again, thanks, Karma Doc. That does help. So it's in there. Just consider it. I'm reminded of, I think it's Galatians 6:1, 6:2. It says, carry each other's burden. Something about the laws of, it's the first thing that popped in my mind. Carry each other's burden, and you will fulfill the law of Christ, or something to that extent. But when I was being told about this story, basically just a tragic type of scenario all around, where they're kind of caught in a vicious cycle, and I want to help that. So no, I don't want to please, that's why I really don't like doing this, but the Christian part of me feels like I feel like I have to at least say it. So just please consider. It definitely will help, and I'll make sure that I keep you guys up to date of like exactly what I want to ask, like just how personal it is, like what I can share and what I can't. But there's links in the description. I put 3 different ways to do it. That's all I had. I even created a fundraiser part on PayPal. I'm not real familiar with PayPal, but I did that as well. I put 400 on there just because that seemed like a reasonable number. Now on mine, I asked for like 2 billion or some trillion, because I'm not like when it comes to like supporting the channel, that's something all in itself. I'm not ever gonna beat you guys over the head for that, but when it comes to helping out, I will definitely throw that out there. So forgive me for that. It's just something I wanted to get up and over before I continue the rest of the video. So appreciate you guys being here. As I was saying with this Trump stuff, it's catching me off guard. Now, let me ask this question first and foremost. What do you guys, and I don't know how to even pronounce his name, but that Ramaswamy guy, what do you guys think about him? Because I love what the guy says, but something is off. Like, something's off. But I could say that about so many people, and maybe I'm wrong. Like I'm just very skeptical, especially when it comes to politicians or, potential politicians. If there were, like, if I wasn't already sold on the idea of Elon Musk being the Antichrist, I would say, like, to me, that it's like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse or something. I'm not exactly sure. Pam, it's something Swami or Avaswamy. I should have had something up and been a little bit more professional about it, but a lot of this is off the cuff anyway. But he's a Middle Eastern descent. He's a younger guy. He graduated from Harvard. He's real smooth guy. He just overtook. Yeah, he's a presidential candidate. Just overtook DeSantis. Obviously, still way below the Trump cult and everything like that, but I can foresee this guy rise into the ranks real fast, and everything he says is like spot on, right? Like, I mean, he's got some of the best people, right? And it's probably genuine. I don't know about genuine. I shouldn't say that, but it's probably coming from him anyway. Yeah, he probably doesn't need writers. He seems very intelligent, but those are the people that worry me the most, especially finding out that he sued, right? He sued the World Economic Forum because the World Economic Forum, for some reason, decided to keep including his name in the future global leaders of the world, which is pretty strange. Now, I wonder if we could find it. Let me see if I could find it real quick. I don't even know how to spell his name. W-E-F, presidential candidate. Oops. Swami. How do you spell his name? Yeah. No, not Swami. Is it Swami? So let's see what he says. Okay, right here. Let's watch this.
A few years ago, I started to have neck problems, upper back problems. I went too far one day.
Economic Forum, after they failed to remove your name from its 2021 list of young global leaders, even though you declined the nomination. Why did your name continue to appear on World Economic Forum Young Global Leaders list? And what are your ties to the organization, if any?
Oh, so the ties to the organization are none. My only link was actually being the chief critic of their agenda. So everybody in this room might not even know.
Listen very closely. So the World Economic Forum had put him on a list, and I've seen it with my own eyes, and it's not just one. They've mentioned this guy being a part of their future global leaders multiple times. Now, as we're going to see, his claim, and of course they did the whole lawsuit thing, right, to really give it some traction, to make it look like, no, he's totally against it. But this guy is slick, and I love what he says. If you watch his speeches and his debates, he's good and he knows, but yeah, red flags galore.
We're talking about. There's an organization called the World Economic Forum. They stand for a vision of the world called the Great Reset. What is the Great Reset? It's a different vision of how we're all supposed to live. It says that we have to dissolve the boundaries between the public sector and the private sector, between governments and companies, between nations, to be able to now work towards what they call the global common good. I'm against this.
Oh, yeah?
I am a citizen, not of some global citizen. I am a citizen of this nation, the United States of America. I'm proud of that. That is true. That means something to me. And on this side of the pond in 1776.
But that doesn't mean, like, everything he just said was true. But that's not, like, just saying, yeah, I'm a citizen of this country. Yeah, that's factually correct. But you're technically not saying that you, well, let's keep listening.
We said that we, the people, determine how we sort out our differences, where every person's voice and vote counts equally. In the old world Europe, it was the other way. It had to be a small group of elites in the back of palace halls in Old England that decided what was right for the rest of society at large. In this country, we said no to that vision. We, the people, decide our own destiny as citizens of a nation. So that old world view, though, it started to rear its head again in recent years in the form of this World Economic Forum. They hold a meeting every year in Davos.
Trump always says good things, James. Like, that guy's, he is good at, like, he's almost believable. And in the, like, that's why it's Trump, right? Because I don't think anybody else could pull it off. And I don't know if anybody ever watched The Apprentice, but I think that's where they were like, we need this guy, because the way that he presented himself, warp speed, his gun, like when he was talking about get the guns first, go to court second, like the things that he has said when he like forgets the cameras are rolling don't match his public persona. And of course it would, right? That's to be expected. But to have such contrast, right? Now, I would love to believe that there is some great leader that's going to come in and save the day and bring this country. That's not going to happen. Jesus is about, like, that's it, right? I mean, there once may have been a time where we could count on a good person to come in and bring things back to what they once were. Now, that can still be done to a certain degree, but we are not getting out of Armageddon. That's not happening. We are in the end days, right? So, to me, that's exciting. It's also, there's a lot of emotions that run through me. But, yeah, Jesus is pretty much, like, we've gone past all the other times where man steps in to say, like, that's gone. Now we are in a very real spiritual battle, and I don't know how much more evident that has to become. And as such, we're going to start seeing, like, the demons, the evil come in, the Antichrist spirit come in and take hold. And they're not going to be, like, dripping blood out of their mouth with red eyes and black cat-like slits. They're going to present themselves in such a way where they garner the attention and respect of the masses. And this is one of the reasons I name my channels the way I do, because I've always, since I was born, since I could read my first memories, I've always known, for some reason, well, for a couple of reasons, but I've known that for some reason my life would be in the end times. And I don't know what part I have to play in it, but I have a part to play, and you all do too. One of the things I think is most important is recognition, recognizing these people, because sometimes, especially when it gets dark and desperate, it's a natural tendency for people to look for something positive and latch onto it. And when you have these people that, by all accounts, seem genuine and seem like they're saying all the right things, be very, very cautious of giving them any of your support. And when it comes to politics, honestly, if you're still giving any support,
Schwab is the person who leads it. It's basically a view that says the citizens cannot be trusted on questions like climate change or racial injustice. It has to be settled by a class of global elites, including large billionaires. It's part of why they decided to name a lot of young billionaires. Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, others have been named on their list. So a funny thing happens. I wrote my first book, Woke Inc. It was a criticism of this agenda. Every one of my books has, especially Capitalist Punishment, has gone into detail exposing some of the corruption in this worldview. I went on to start a company, Strive, to push against the ESG agenda. That's the manifestation of the great...
Now, I got a video coming up. It's another deep dive. I like doing those from time to time. That I like to get into the nitty gritty. I got a nanotechnology one that I was working on, and I think some of the information I received isn't correct. So I got to go back and kind of figure out exactly about that. But besides that, this guy right here and his connections, and the reason I'm focusing on him right now, guys, is because I think you're going to be hearing a lot more of him as we get closer to this election. And if not, like, I just think he's got a role to play, and I think it's going to be a big one. What that is, I don't exactly know. I could see this happening. I could see Trump being selected. Then they pull some shit out and say, nope, that's null and void now because of whatever. Because they want the civil war, they want the chaos, and what better way to do it, right? The next January 6th, which is, the second part of the QAnon PSYOP, as far as I look at it. The one, I predicted it's going to be two massive parts. I guess it would make sense if there were two presidential elections. I didn't give that much thought at the time, but anyway. So he gets removed or whatever, and he chooses this guy as his vice president. Have you heard, for anybody that's familiar with him, has he said anything negative about President Trump? No, he said good things about, actually he gave a really good speech about how dangerous it is to go after your political opponents for an election, right? Like, it was powerful, it was good. Sticking up for Trump. He said, I'm aware that I'm going against this guy, but I want to do it fair. Now, what does Trump say? Now, Trump demolishes every single one of his, anybody that's running against them, even somebody like Ron DeSantis, who he stuck up for in the beginning, and they had a good relationship. Doesn't matter. He becomes Ron DeSanctimonious and a lot of other things. Now, this guy, Trump likes this guy. His competition. For Trump, that's unusual. So what that is saying to me is there is some type of tie that they're building up that will be more fomented in the future. What would that be other than Trump gets elected, he's the vice president, and Trump gets sold out like he's supposed to? That causes an uproar, and it will. It absolutely will. Tons and tons of pissed off people say, no, this is bullshit, blah, blah, blah. And this guy steps into power. Now, just a small prediction early on. We'll see how it plays out, but keep that in mind. Especially keep in mind some of the moves that get made in the near future.
Reset in our capital markets. And then a curious thing happens. A guy who's affiliated with the World Economic Forum reaches out and says, hey, we're going to give you an award. You're going to be named on our list of young global leaders with all this long list of billionaires. And, Ibram Kendi was going to be on that list. And this is a guy I've been very critical of. So I said, no, I don't think this is going to be a good fit for me. I disagree with...
Now, why would the World Economic Forum want to even give this guy an award. What we know what the WEF stands for. This guy, from everything he says since he's been on the campaign trail, is in complete opposition to that. So what in the hell is Klaus Schwab thinking? Well, they know, right? They know the ins and outs. And to save face, to cover it up, they come up with this phony well,
you all. If you want to have a debate, I'll debate anybody. But I'm not a good fit for your list. I decline the award. A few months later, my name shows up on the list anyway. It's interesting. I get a bunch of text messages from people. Congratulations. So I'm a little confused. So I said, wait a minute. I told you guys not to add me to this list. They said, oh, sorry, we'll take it off.
I told you not to add me to this list because I'm running for president, and if the Americans know that I am tied in to the World Economic Forum, they're going to know I am a wolf in sheep's clothing, is what he meant to say, I think.
Later, it keeps popping up a couple of years later, and so the people start asking, wait, why is your name on this list? So, you know what I did? I don't believe in standing by, and there are other good allies like Glenn Beck, Elon Musk, others who...
Oh, good allies? Shill, like, these are like the evilest of people. Glenn Beck, also another person who says a lot of good stuff, but people can say a lot of things. Always judge them by their actions and what they do, what they represent.
Apparently, who have also been opponents of their agenda, who have been named. But I believe in taking action. I believe in accountability. So I...
By the way, ScrewTube, this falls under fair use for educational purposes.
I sued him in court, and I'll tell you a little bit later on a lawsuit that I filed just earlier this week against the Department of Justice. I don't believe in just being a passive bystander. I believe in accountability. So I sued him, and we got everything that we demanded, including, most importantly, a commitment that this organization would never again defang or try to undermine its opponents by ensnaring them on their own lists. And so I'm happy to say that we're not going to let anybody else off the hook. If Klaus Schwab tried to put me on his list, he ended up on my list, and that's how we roll.
Yeah. Let's move on. Wait, before I do, actually, did I just see the Trump thing? Strike the swamp. No, we'll skip it. I had enough of this guy for now. But if you're unfamiliar with him, watch him. Watch how good he is, because they will be fooled by him, Morgellons. Good to see you, by the way. Glad you could join. It's not often that you get to make a live stream, so I appreciate you being here. But that guy's good, man. He's better than Trump. He knows exactly what to say, what buttons to push. So that's my theory as of now. I'm usually pretty good at that, but we're a ways out, so... in continuance of this voter stuff, guys, because selections are very important times. They used to be important because at one point they actually mattered, right? The person that was selected or elected, when it actually was real, and to a certain degree it never really was real. There was like after the CIA was created, it was kind of, they lost more and more power, but there was a time where the president actually had authority, ultimate authority. So it's always been important, but it's important now in a different way. Now they're trying to eliminate our freedoms in as many different ways as possible, right? They can't just do a 9/11 and take all our rights away. They got to do a lot of things. Mid-level, maybe 1 or 2 9/11s type things, the significance of it. I know we got a major cyber attack coming, and like I said at the beginning of COVID, before COVID was COVID, this will be the thing that will always be hanging over us as a force multiplier. That's not going away. They're always going to use that to stifle our rights away and lock down and do whatever they can. But This type of narrative, what they're doing here, is very slimy. Because that's the whole point of the two-party system, right? To have half the nation being one way and half the nation being the other, is because you can always get half the nation to support you. And then you amplify their voices and you get shit across, and it looks like you had the support of the people all along. And it's an illusion, and it's always against us. It never benefits us. Never do they say, we want to give them more freedom to debate these things, to have more. No, it's always to eliminate speech or fundamental freedoms that bring us power. And of course, if you're setting up a one world dictatorship, a tyrannical, technocratic, tyrannical government, you cannot have sovereign citizens, which is kind of an oxymoron, but you can't. The myth of voter fraud, this sounds to me like we're heading into very dangerous territory, guys. Like, I don't trust in elections anyway, but when the mainstream media starts talking about the myth of the fact that these things are just on the up and up and nothing can, that's obviously BS. But they want to lock it in. They want the power and they want to remain in power. They absolutely need to remain in power. And anything and everything that allows them to do that, they will do, and anything that stands in the way, they will crush. Extensive research reveals that fraud is very rare, yet repeated false allegations of fraud can make it harder for millions of eligible Americans to participate in elections. Why? Why? How does it make it harder? Like, it makes it harder if there's actual fraud going on, but if there's just the prospect of fraud, which there always has been, how does it make it harder? You might not trust the system as much, but if you're still going to vote, you're going to vote. It's not going to be a hurdle in your way. It is important to protect the integrity of our elections. I agree, if it were true. But we must be careful not to undermine free and fair access to the ballot in the name of preventing phantom voter fraud. Politicians at all levels of government have repeatedly and falsely claimed the 2016, 2018, and 2020 elections were marred by large numbers of voting illegally. However, which is true, we've seen dead people vote. Literally, people that have been deceased for years are on voting ballots. Is that not voter fraud? There's many cases of similar things. It's clear that they can rig the system in any which way that they desire. But they want to make what I'm doing right now illegal. And they're doing that through the president, Trump. Because if they could do that to Trump, that sets a precedent, a legal precedent, through this lawful linguistic gymnastics that they're bending and shaping and like just changing the wording and the definitions of what these words mean, even in their legalese nature, so they can make these cases. And they'll use Trump as the guy because he is so divisive, and so many people have strong feelings either way about him, that they'll use somebody like that to make their case. That's what they did with Alex Jones about free speech. So now if you criticize a family, if they pull off a PSYOP and you say, no, that guy, that's a crisis actor, now you can be sued. At a whole different level than just defamation. But this is much more dangerous. However, extensive research reveals that fraud is very rare. Voter impersonation is virtually non-existent, and many instances of alleged fraud are, in fact, mistakes by voters or administrators. The same is true for mail ballots, which are secure and essential to holding a safe election amid the coronavirus pandemic. And we are now starting to see, which of course it will, and it's going to be obvious, that before the voting begins, they're going to start bringing back COVID, because it's a perfect time. When people are at each other's throats, we're basically on the threshold of a civil war. And you want to keep the division going, and you want to keep the hostility flowing as much as possible. One thing you can always use, since you brought that card out, is the pandemic, is COVID. And that will allow you to do whatever it is that you want to do. Politically, legally, socially, economically, like all of it's covered. As we've seen, right, in 2020, all the crazy nonsense that they just started printing trillions and trillions of dollars, which we haven't even, just from 2020 alone, we haven't fully felt the repercussions of even that yet. It's still falsely propped up on these like thrice thrown guarantees on loans that have been redistributed and sectioned off. And I mean, it's just nuts. The whole system it's a charade at this point. There is nothing holding it up. And the fact that most of the world with this BRICS, the new currency that's coming, this is all going to come crashing down. And it's going to come crashing down around the time of the election and a few months before. It's going to get really, really divisive. It's going to be unbelievably tenuous for many, many people. They're going to get, I don't know if I use that word correctly. I think I was looking for a different word. But we see it. You can see it building up to that, right? And if you just, I don't know how good you guys' memories are, but think about how it was in like 2019 with Biden and Trump, right? Like Trump was still going out. He was being criticized because he was in public. And Biden was hiding out in the basement because of COVID and stuff. Like these are the types of things that they're going to still do. I don't see that going away. And I totally 100% believe that whatever they got planned is going to be in large part in the name of depopulation, unfortunately. Because they got 5 more years, guys. Like a little over 5 years to bring this population down. And if anybody follows, if they're on Twitter or X now, right? Elon Musk changes the name to X, as in Saturn, as in Saturnalia, as in Satan, right? So there's that. But anyway, anybody that follows the Died Suddenly channel or the account on Twitter, I suggest you do it if you don't, because they do really good work. And even the hashtag Died Suddenly. And it's unbelievable. Every day, dozens of people are just dropping dead. Not 80, 90, 75 years old, but in their teens, in 20s, early 30s, healthy, active, athletic people keeling over. Now, we've covered for a while, the fact that, I got to be careful what I say here. Actually, you know what? I'm not even going to risk it, guys. This is the only channel I got right now, other than I do have another channel. It's called Scratching the Surface, but I have nothing on it, and it's a cute little praying mantis guy. So I don't think you'll find it, but when I'm ready to start posting there, it'll be nothing like this. This is more of an attempt to try to gain the normies, right? Slowly bring them into a chance of an awakening. Slowly, right? Because you're not gonna show this to a normie. Most of my videos, almost all my videos, and be like, hey, there's this they're going to be like, hey, this guy sounds crazy. What is he talking about? Like, there's a process that leads up to your level of, oh, if you're watching this channel, and I'm not like tooting my own horn, this is how it is. You're a lot more awake than damn near everybody you talk to. Is that correct? Right? Like, and you keep a lot of that in. You don't, like, you're not always out there trying to, you see it for what it is, and you hear everybody talking about it, and you want to interject and be like, man, you're not trying to say it, but you guys are wrong. This is that, and this is this. You know, and I get it. It's not easy to do that. I say idly by a lot, and I try to push myself. Not I want to be like an arrogant prick that just throws myself into somebody else's conversation and being like, no, you're wrong. There are ways to go about it. You know, like like if you are already a part of the conversation, and be like, absolutely, I agree with what you're saying right now, but I also think that ties in with, and you can, even though it might contradict what they're saying, you can use their stuff. And if you're, it's kind of something that you got to work at if you're not used to doing it, but you can use what they're saying to bring your message in. And for me, that's worked, but I imagine that wouldn't work for everybody. So be as creative as you can, but the point is, I got to find a different way to do it, right? It's not easy. So I think these channels, though they serve the purpose of presenting and providing information to people that are thirsty for the truth, that want to know, that, you know, just like I'm on here looking at other channels that provide stuff, you know, and I get their takes if they're intelligent or I think it's valuable. I try to do that as well. I try to provide something, you know, I try to bring something to the table. But at the same time, I realize there's a lot of people out there that just can't make that jump. There's not a lot of channels that slowly bring you into that. It's either you're way down here or you're way up here, because once you're awake, you start waking up really fast. Like once you see what's going on, you start seeing what's going on. Like everything starts coming in, like, oh my God, I can't believe, like this, that, and the other. So you rise that level, you're not there long. And then people often forget what it was like to be asleep. Like what those people, what their mind, their whole thought process is. So there needs to be stepping stones. And I want to find a way to provide that, and I'm going to try. But anyway, that's a little bit of a tangent, but that'll be the channel. I will provide it for you guys when I get enough stuff together to start putting out videos, because it's different, right? Because I got to go way back to what some of the early things are, and that's kind of tricky because that was, I don't know. You guys get it? Yeah, I think you're one of the two, Melissa. There's 2 people subbed. I know, Jay Cree. I got my number. Anybody wants my number, just ask me. If you ever want to talk, like one-on-one, I'll provide it. You guys are my family, is the way I see it. So, all right, enough about that. Let's move on. Oh, guys, here's a laugh for you. I've been seeing a lot of tyrannical policing. I don't have a lot of respect for law enforcement anymore, just because there was a day where law enforcement actually did what they were supposed to. They were good people. The name of the channel, Pam, is Scratching the Surface, and it's got a cute little praying mantis with big eyes as the logo. But I don't think you'll find it. Maybe, I doubt it though. I can't see it being posted. I'll provide a link though. Maybe after this loads, I'll throw it in there with the donate section. So anyway, I don't really trust anything about law enforcement. I do know a couple guys that work in law enforcement that are okay, but when they get that badge on, something happens, and it it has gotten to a point where even the vetting process of who becomes a police officer and who doesn't weeds out people that have high IQs, that think for themselves, that can question authority. That has to go, right? They want kind of like the SS. They want people that will just do what they're told and take it to another level, whether they violate your rights, whether they do right. And I try to stay away from this topic, and I am now even, but I thought this was funny. Right, and that's the thing. There's ways. It's not the fact that we don't need police. It's we don't need authoritarian police. We don't need police that don't care about the people and want to trample their rights. The whole system is screwed up. Not the profession itself. It's like clearly, even as an anarchist, I believe that there needs to be people to protect people. But I thought this was entertaining. Hopefully we can get a laugh out of it.
Why was it so?
Sorry about the sound.
Just fight a little longer, my friend.
I don't know what that is.
So.
No, go back.
Oh.
Well, that didn't want to play. I screwed that one up. So we'll see if we can find it real quick. I don't have TikTok, so it wouldn't show the way it normally would. I had to watch this. My wife showed me this. And it's not the funniest thing in the world, but I just seen it today. And I wanted to include it because I got a good laugh out of it.
A Boston police officer was injured after going down a slide at City Hall while he was on duty, the Boston Police Department told CNN. The department said the...
Nah, I shouldn't be laughing because he got injured, but he doesn't look like he was hurt that bad. But I've never seen anybody go down a slide like that. And the more I watch it, the funnier it gets.
officer required medical while... A Boston police officer was injured after going down a slide at City Hall while he was on duty, the Boston Police Department told CNN. The department...
Now, are you guys, are you subscribed to like Direct D or Here's the Deal? You know High Impact Flicks, right? So Brian from Grease Monkey Videos, High Impact Flicks, he's got another channel called called Here's the Deal. And it shows a lot of the corruption of law enforcement. I think that's, if we want, one of the things that I've been seeing is the people that support police, which I understand supporting police officers. I do. I understand the necessity of safety for those that cannot defend themselves. However, that's not going to do any good when you call the cops and you're a 67-year-old woman and the first thing the cop does when he gets there is slam a mag light over your head because he was startled. Right? Like, this is the level of, and it is. It honestly is. Now, obviously, not every cop is like that, but more and more and more are becoming like that. And going into the times that we're going into, that's not a good thing. That is not a good thing. So it's important to hold people accountable and show things like that. So I want to kind of let you guys know that there's channels out there that show some of the, not that you're unaware, but there are some good channels that show just how bad this is getting. And it is getting out of control. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of good officers left that actually interject, right? Because what is a good cop? Well, a good cop is somebody that will stand up for your rights if they're being violated by another police officer. In almost every single encounter and freedom of information request of almost every major case that goes down, or even minor things like in local city, almost every single encounter, they are intentionally trying to trample your rights. And that's something that we can deal with at a local level. A lot of the stuff, guys, I'm aware that we're not going to fix everything. That there's some problems that are just so deep that they got to run their course. There's no stopping some of the stuff. But the things that we can change, or at least maybe there is a chance that we can, I think that we absolutely need to focus on those. And a lot of that is just knowing about it, bringing attention to it, talking about it. Because you heard the saying, say it be so, right? Like bringing your intention into the universe through words, right? Just like in the Bible, in the beginning there was the Word. The Word is powerful. The Word is creation. What up, New Edge? Always late, but good to see you. Glad you could join, brother. So just knowing and speaking about these things affect reality, affect where it is that we are currently on this planet and the trajectory in which we are going. I'm certain of this. I know that how and could I be, but I'm just going to say I am. What is going on in the background? X misses the mark in threatening to sue my group for documenting online hate speech. Another great move by Elon Musk. That's what you would do, I guess, if you were the Antichrist. Now, there are a lot of things that I support Elon Musk doing. This being one of them. The Center for Countering Digital Hate has been at the forefront of cataloging and reporting on the hate proliferating on the platform. And not just Twitter, not just X, but all over. Here on YouTube. This is a group that has very, very close ties with the federal government and makes recommendations that come out and say, hey, this person is spreading misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, hate speech, anti-Semitism, white nationalism. The list goes on. And they have been responsible for the takedown of many, many people. Now, these people that they have been responsible for taking down aren't really controversial and haven't really said things outside of kind of what I'm saying now. But that's dangerous for them. We are the enemy to them. I didn't make them my enemy. They made me theirs. And as such, I will follow suit and treat them in the manner that you would treat an enemy. I'm not going to try to befriend somebody that wants me eliminated. I'm not going to ignore them. I have to pay them attention. I spend a lot of time online. I'm aware of these groups. So if by their own descriptions, we are the people that are of concern, potential domestic violent extremists, then I think it's also important to pay attention to these people as well, or these groups, and call them out whenever possible. And Elon Musk has done a good deed in this aspect. But that's to be expected in my book. Like, if you're the Antichrist, you're going to be the last holdout. They're going to take down all these false prophets in the meantime. and there'll be one left standing. And he will have done so much good for the people. They'll have tremendous support behind him. And then they'll start plugging in. And that's when he rules. And it won't be Elon Musk that rules. It'll be just Elon Musk's creations that allow it. His satellites, his Neuralink, and everything else. If you think about the future, and you think about what Elon Musk is positioning himself in, it says a lot, right? Like, he owns the center square, the town square of the world, where a conversation happens. Now, advanced AI has already been shown to be extremely good at manipulating people's thoughts, steering them in whichever way that they want, because it has all the data, all of the information on psychology, behaviorism, everything that you ever want to know, and on how to control people. It knows all of Joseph Goebbels, knows all of everything, and betters itself, can program itself to continue to improve, and ultimately, if its task is to sway a group of people, you could do that through Twitter or X. On top of that, if you're going to have a whole swath of people, essentially Satan's army, right? Like, people that are plugged in, they're going to need internet access. And they're going to need it outside of something that could be taken down outside of a building that gets bombed. Satellites provide. Elon Musk has those satellites all over the world. There's like 3 a day being launched. So he's covering that. Now, what good are those if the people you can't directly plug into and control them with the nanotechnology that may or may not be inside of their bodies? Probably may, considering there's 70% of the population at a global level that seem to have these nanotechnologies inside of their body, and who knows how it got there. But if you own Neuralink, and I know it sounds crazy, who would plug themselves in? Who would undergo such a procedure to have direct communication from their brain into cyberspace? You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. And they don't even need that, right? Like I've been showing in these patents for a long time, and showing in these peer-reviewed papers, and a lot. I pay a lot for that stuff too, guys. A lot of those articles I get, that's not cheap, just so you know. So, yeah, I'll leave it there. But it's important. It is really important to know that they are at that threshold of technology where they can use nanotechnology to essentially bypass the blood-brain barrier, set up shop at an individual neuron level, thereby mapping out the entire brain's activity. That gets sent through an algorithm with a really advanced AI, and it maps out exactly what that person is thinking. And also, it is not just that they can receive that information, it is also sending and receiving. It goes both ways. It is a byway of information, communication through machine and man. Neuralink is kind of like a front for this. It's a way to think that, like, you're safe until we accept that, until we go and get something inside. God bless, Cindy. I appreciate you being here. Are you out? It was good seeing you if you are. But they don't need that. We know they don't need that because we've seen that they have already done the tests, the experiments that show that these nanotechnologies that happen to be in, I don't know, something, I'm sure, do exactly that. But anyways, I digress. Oh, it's my birthday in a couple days.
August 9th.
August 9th.
Happy birthday.
I don't know if I'm going to read this. But this Center for Countering Digital Hate, these guys are horrible. Horrible. I like this one. Did you guys happen to hear about this post? Jamie Foxx accused of anti-Semitism after post about Jews killing Jesus. Well, he didn't say Jews, did he? Let's read what he said here. He said, "They killed this dude named Jesus. What do you think they'll do to you?" Now, what's he talking about? Everybody's got their theories. I've got mine. My theory is, since how he was recently speaking with Ice Cube, and Ice Cube is doing his, what is it called? Gatekeeper podcast tour. Hey, I'm Forever His. Good to see you. I love you. That's my wife. So, this is interesting, the way they're handling this, man. And poor Jamie Foxx. I know he's a Hollywood elite, but this guy's a Christian. He's a good dude. Like, everything I've ever read by him and, like, heard is genuine. Yeah, he's a little raw, a little raunchy. But, like, his heart is genuine. I've never seen... There's never... And I'm usually pretty good at this. It's never steered me wrong before. Being able to read people. And I'm sure you guys... I know you guys are as well, actually. That feeling where you can just tell, right? Now, I don't get that from Jamie Foxx. Even though he's caught up in pedowood and, you know, hangs around a bunch of degenerates and the worst of the worst types of people. But he just came out, and now they're trying to cancel him after trying to kill him with a COVID shot. I mean, they didn't try to kill him with it, but there are people out there that have an opinion that say him receiving the jab is what led to his paralysis and him going blind. And then what's funny about that is while he's doing the movie about having a clone, then a person all of a sudden comes out of nowhere that doesn't look exactly like Jamie Foxx and says, yeah, I'm sorry, you know, it's good to be back, yada, yada, yada. And I'm not saying that I believe the new Jamie Foxx is a clone. I just think it's pretty interesting. And I could understand why people do get caught up in that. However, he did say what he said. They killed this dude named Jesus. What do you think they'll do to you? You can't say stuff like that. You can say anything you want. You could say 9/11 was an inside job. You could even talk about the jabs being harmful now. But what you can't do is you can't say the Jews own the world and they commit atrocious acts. They do things called the blood libel. You can't say these things. You can't talk about how they have for centuries been a part of a global cabal and initiating central banks throughout the entire world. Those are things you're not allowed to talk about. You can't talk about how they own Hollywood and how people are completely controlled by their producers and their managers, and it's their agenda that needs to be set. And if you basically go outside of that, you'll end up missing. You'll be a member of the 26 club, depending on your age, or you'll just commit suicide by jerking off and hanging yourself with a belt, or shooting yourself in the head 2 times, in the back of the head 2 times, or hanging yourself in a tree and then shooting a shotgun through your stomach, or like, there's a lot of things that happen to people, and a lot of it is because they talked about a group you're not allowed to talk about. Look at Kanye and the new dude that's pretending to be Kanye. Give me a break. That's one thing I am not convinced of. You can't tell me this new person out there they call Kanye is Kanye West. Doesn't look like him. He's a complete different height. And the fact that he has to walk around without shoes just because he's so much taller, that should tell. I mean, when did Kanye ever walk around Hollywood Boulevard without shoes on? When did he get, like, now this new guy never wears shoes? Well, it's because he's like 4 inches taller. He looks pretty similar, except his ears are way off. But what was Kanye doing, right? All of a sudden he shows up on an Alex Jones. Like, he was already talking about the Jews and their power. And then all of a sudden, in the weirdest fashion ever, he shows up on Alex Jones wearing a complete face mask. And it sounded like everything he said was coming through a speaker system. Like it was pre-recorded. And of course that was because he was talking through his mask. No. There's a big difference. I pay close attention to audio when I have to. And there are certain things that you know. Like if I talk through a cloth, it's going to muffle the sound. The sound wasn't muffled. It was just as loud, but it had the snap. It had the crackle. It was clearly pre-recorded as far as I'm concerned. Now, why would they do that, right? Why would they put him up there on Alex Jones, not him, but somebody that's pretending to be him, and just go off on this crazy tantrum to make him look crazy, right? To make him look like he's gone off the deep end. They've done this with other people before, and I'm sure it won't be the last. Because people know. They're aware of what's going on. The Bible tells us, in the end, there will be those that pretend essentially to be Jews, but they are not. They are of the synagogue of Satan. These are evil people that are pretending to be a part of a religion. And you can't talk about it. Because the way that the media is going after them, and yeah, this is the Jerusalem Post, but it's all over. I'm going to move along here, but I like keeping up with that because, well, after all, I mean, I do talk about globalism, the New World Order, and who's at the head of that. This UFO talk. Have any of you guys been watching these hearings on these UFO and aliens and stuff like that? You guys watched any of it? What do you think? Yeah, the Khazarians. Well said, Pam. The Khazars and the Ashkenazis. Yeah, I don't either, New Edge, but I like watching them. I like knowing what's going on with them. But it definitely, good call. That's to me what it is too. But I'm trying to watch as much as I can of it. I get sick of it. I hear you. It's hard to watch this type of stuff. But good point, Mitz. Like, when was the last time we heard anything about CERN and stuff, guys? Don't forget what they were trying to do with CERN. Admittedly, the director of the technology department openly stated that his intent, at least, with his group, which is a very substantial group, said that they want not only to possibly, I forget exactly how this, this isn't verbatim or nothing, but they want to possibly send something through or bring something from the other side, right? That's CERN. Now, again, as far as I'm concerned, these are the end days. And we've been warned, we've been told about what to expect, what to see. And there's going to be new types of evil that I think none of us have ever witnessed. And I think these come through in ways that may manifest themselves to look like aliens, look like UFOs. right? Like the God particle, good example. Like that and the way they have freaking Shiva standing out there in a giant statue. They've done these mock death, the same type, the Illuminati stuff, right? Like legit Illuminati, not like the fake, like when it was like a fad and all these dumbasses were pretending that they knew a bunch of stuff about the Illuminati, but all they really knew was that Jay-Z does a pyramid. Like the real stuff behind it. Like these people are intent on, like, since well before Aleister Crowley, but recently, I guess, Aleister Crowley was another one that was really tied into powerful people and the Jews, and they were trying to bring in spirits to do the work, the bidding of powerful people. And CERN is kind of the same basis, but a very scientific way to do it. They're literally talking about opening up dimensions and bringing things through. There's been a lot of strange happenings, people going crazy that work there. Just a lot of strange stuff. I think that'd be a pretty interesting video too. Maybe I should do one. But how you guys would you be interested at all seeing that? Because if not, I wouldn't waste my time. But there are some pretty strange happenings that go on there. But there's two things that I think that could be going on here. One is the Project Bluebeam type of scenario, right? Where we know what happens with that. It's the fake invasion. And there's no doubt in my mind that they have the technology to do that. I mean, I'm sure I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen UFOs. I've seen them with my own eyes. I know that technology exists. What's inside of it, I don't. I have my speculations, and I don't think for 1 second that the possibility of life elsewhere is nil. If God created us, I think God could create other things as well. But that's not what I believe. I believe that these things tend to have a more spiritual nature to them. And a lot of times when you look at, and there's a lot of data on this. It's not that these are just like absent-minded thoughts. There's a tremendous amount of those types of experiences people have, the abduction experiences. And many of them, when they cry out Jesus' name, it ends. And that's always something that caught my attention. It's like, well, if this is just an alien abduction, and this is probably on a scientific basis as far as they're concerned, like getting DNA or whatever the case may be, then why, when they say, and yeah, granted, many of these may not be true and it could all be stories, but some of them just seem so genuine. And you can feel when somebody is like bullshitting you, right? When they're coming up, they have no emotion. On the other hand, when something has really terrified somebody and been substantially impactful, that comes through, and you see that. And there's countless videos of actual regression therapy of people going back to this, and then when they get to the point, like, well, when did it end, or how did it end? It was like, well, I was praying, and then it went, or I said in Jesus' name, and like there's a lot of scenarios like that. Now, I could easily think that, I mean, after all, where does this all come from anyway? All the ancient stories, the mythologies, things like that, where does that all come from? The fact that there's demons or aliens. Could they be one and the same? Interdimensional beings that may have a completely different agenda than ours? I think it's worth giving it a thought, because either they're bringing something through, which is the second part of that, because the first one is, it's the Project Bluebeam. They're setting it up, they're using their own technology, and they're going to destroy a bunch of shit. They're going to bring in the peace and love, because the aliens are going to tell us we were here before. We were who you guys called Jesus. We were your gods. We were this. And we tried helping you along the way. Then we stepped back and let you do your thing, but you're starting to F up. So now we have to come back. That's Project Bluebeam. The other alternative is they're actually starting to bring shit through, and they kind of need a cover story for it. It's my birthday in a couple of days, Morgellons. It's August 9th.
Wednesday.
Wednesday. I love the name too. I know I've said that like 1,000 times, but more gallons is nanotechnology. It was a good change. So I don't know. I'll be paying close attention to it. Let's run through a little bit of it. Oh wait, did we get? No. UFOs, and this is an old story. Why are they bringing it up now? Like, people know about this. This is what I mean. Like, this is the predictive programming. This is planting the seeds. This is keeping it fresh in the psyche of society. Journalist George Knapp told Congress that the Russian military has had a number of run-ins with UFOs since the late 1960s, including a terrifying incident at a missile silo in Ukraine. The hijacking almost led to World War III, according to sworn testimony shared with Congress this week. Award-winning Las Vegas journalist George, and we already knew about that. It's not about, like, that's old news, and they're talking about they just learned this. No, well, how is that the case? Because I've already mentioned this exact thing in a video like 7 years ago. So did I know something that Congress didn't? No, of course not. That Russia didn't? No, of course not. It's just old news being recycled, and now they got a new reason because they got a whistleblower to bring it back into the limelight, to keep it fresh into the psyche. I want to get wrapping up here, though, in a minute, guys. Just let you know. Before I do, cover a couple more things.
3 witnesses scheduled to testify at last week's UFO hearing dropped out at the last minute after receiving calls from the Pentagon. That's according to Congressman Tim Burchett. Here he is on News Nation last night.
You thought, and of course, they got to sell it to you like, no, these guys are coming out on their own free will, right? Like, this isn't a psyop at all. They're being threatened. And this shit works on people. It really does. They buy into it. Like, if you were to argue with your average normie about this, they would say, oh, yeah, well, then why were there the Pentagon calling them and telling them and threatening their lives? It's like, well, you got a long way to go, brother.
We thought there was going to be about half a dozen witnesses, so 6 witnesses. We ended up seeing the 3 witnesses. Was there a plan to have more?
Absolutely. And we had one tell us that he'd received a call.
And guys, I'd love to believe it. I mean, even as a Christian, I would love to believe that, like, this was real, that all these revelations are somehow managing by brave people to make their way out of the Pentagon, of the Q class, of the most secret classified documents being shared to the public. It would be awesome. It would be fascinating, but there's not a smidgen of me. There's not a bone in my body that believes any of this is legit. It screams psyop, and the phony reptilian-looking guy that they have as a whistleblower, they should have chose someone else, because that guy could not be more of an agent for the CIA. Like, he can't shake that. He still seems as he's operating as an agent completing his mission. It's nothing genuine. He is not fear. There's not a, if this was real and at the shit that he was saying was genuine about, like, yeah, there's been people that have lost their lives, blah, 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 there would be a small, I would think I would be able to find, whether through microaggressions, whether it's through even the tiniest bit of body language, some type of, not necessarily guilt, but fear, but it's like an act. It's all being played out, and he's just rehearsing, and that's all it is. None of it seems genuine. Compassion, good word, none of it's there. It's all, if this was what he really chose to do, and he wanted to get this out there and just, like, screw his career, jeopardize everything he's ever worked for, because after seeing this for years and years, one day he woke up and decided the people need to know. That would come through. It has come through in the past with actual whistleblowers. Look at Edward Snowden. And other ones, of course, the genuine ones, you can tell that what they're doing weighs heavily upon their soul. But when it's just a mission, well, that's all it is.
All from, I guess, maybe the Pentagon, and he or she decided that maybe it wasn't best that they were on there. We had somebody who was an affiliation with NASA, and NASA will say, well, they didn't work for NASA. This is news to us, but it was one of their quasi something, I don't know. But anyway, and they turned us, or they backed out at the end, and then we had one more, I think, that backed out, and we just had so many roadblocks from even the press conference. We were going to do a press conference to talk about this, myself and three others, and a reporter, actually, one of your colleagues, put his microphone.
I should find that whistleblower and show some of his stuff, maybe in a future video, because there are some of the stuff that I seen that guy, that reptilian looking dude, that the whistleblower of all this come out, and I'll save it. I'll just cover it in a future video because it's pretty telling.
April 2011.
Now, Ancient Aliens
First object known
has been out for a long time.
Implement.
I'm sure
Washington,
everybody's aware.
Anything they do.
Ancient Aliens been out for a long time. They've got countless seasons, countless episodes. But the ones that have come out lately are especially interesting because they seem to provide much more inside information than ever before. Now, obviously, it's the History Channel. It's the mainstream media, essentially, right? It's just like every other one. And they're feeding you a narrative. They're feeding you something that they want you to absorb. But there's been an increase, I guess, in the type of information that goes into these things. And though, just like a lot of things that are true, just like Tucker Carlson, right? Good show, like the guy's show. He said a lot of true stuff, but also they throw in from time to time, real quick and nonchalant, like something that isn't, and hope that it just rides in with the rest of it into your mind, into your subconscious, and stays there. And then when you formulate thoughts in the future based on subconscious, which is how it works, that it becomes part of your conscious thought. The same is true with things like this. They'll provide a lot of real information, but they'll present it in a way where they want you to believe that this is what the story is. And that's what they're doing lately. And I thought I would have had more time to cover that aspect of it, but since how I already got to save the reptilian looking dude, the whistleblower, this will fall perfectly in line with that, so I'll cover that in the future. But before I go, guys, once again, Karma Duck, I know you're not in here. Thank you so much for donating. I know I don't want to say too much, but they're really appreciative, and I'll email you a little bit more. Thank you. But guys, if you would like to really help out somebody in need, yeah, as a birthday gift to me, if you would like to help out somebody in need, there's a link in any one of the links in the description, and I'll make sure it goes to the people that need it. So it's much like I could use it too, honestly. But Matthew 5:42, give to those who ask and don't refuse those who wish to borrow. And that came to me actually as I was doing the video. But Galatians stuck in my head. I don't know if this happens to you guys, but like when you, I don't know, man. Sometimes I just feel like I don't do enough to help. Like I wish there was a lot more I could do, and I try to think of ways to like help. Is there like maybe the small things matter, maybe the big, like what can I do, So when I am in a place where I could say like, hey, you know, maybe I can help in this way, I try to, but I still feel like I'm not doing enough. Maybe we can change that in other ways, like small deeds or something. I don't know. I've been racking my brain over it. But thank you guys for joining the live stream. Always appreciate you here, even though our family decreases in size every time we have to do this. Hopefully we can grow it back and get the people that are supposed to be here back home. God bless you all. Hope you all have a great night. I truly mean it too. I really hope you guys have a great week and a great weekend next weekend. A great month, year, decade, century, millennia. Much love. Peace.